Hi, I'm Dr. Neda Zafaranian. I've been teaching for 20 years both in person and online. There's no doubt about it, students tend to like using educational technology. That's one of the reasons it's become prevalent. However, using it in your class just because it's fun is not enough. Just like other activities, technology based projects and presentations should be assessed whether formally or informally. Assessment guides teaching and learning. By assessing students' work, teachers can know what content has been mastered and what content needs to be reinforced. Assessment can also motivate students to do their best work. In addition, in a collaborative project, I don't want one student doing all of the work. So I inform my students that I will be assessing each one individually, not only on their personal efforts, but on their willingness and ability to collaborate with the others. Anytime I evaluate my students, I use a rubric. The rubric helps me maintain objectivity and gives the students a clear understanding of how I'm grading their work. However, when I have ELs and native speakers working together in a class, I must take some differences between them into consideration. For example, I consider my EL's English proficiency. I don't want to confuse lack of English language knowledge with sloppy work. An EL might make a grammar or pronunciation mistake that is not due to carelessness, but rather due to their English learning. Also, when my ELs are working with educational technology, I have to consider their level of digital literacy. Have they used this kind of educational technology before? Do they know how to navigate it? Are there cultural differences that need to be addressed when using the technology? These are all things that I have to consider when assessing my ELs that I may not have to consider when assessing my native speaker students. Intercultural Communicative Competence, or ICC, which are the skills and attitudes that people need in order to communicate in diverse cultural contexts, is a key factor in learning and using a foreign or second language. I feel it's my responsibility as a teacher of ELs to help them improve their ICC, and I can use educational technology to do that. But in order to actually help students increase their ICC, I need to assess it. As I mentioned before, assessment is essential for washback and learning. Teaching and assessing ICC is difficult because it's not about learning a bunch of facts about a specific culture. Instead, students should develop language skills and attitudes that can be applied to communication in diverse cultural contexts. They have to consider how stereotypes and prejudices influence their interactions with people from different cultures. Telecollaborative exchanges are a very popular method for helping students improve their ICC using technology. Sometimes these virtual interactions are called collaborative online intercultural learning, or COIL activities. Other times the term VE, which stands for virtual exchange, is used. Whatever the label you assign, telecollaborative exchanges usually involve two or more groups of students representing different cultural and/or linguistic backgrounds. They come together through the use of a virtual conferencing software like Zoom or Microsoft Teams to practice each other's language, learn more about cross-cultural similarities and differences, and sometimes complete a project together. Self-reflection through journal entries is one of the most commonly used methods of assessment during and after a telecollaborative exchange. But it can be tricky since students, especially young or inexperienced students, might not have developed the ability to critically reflect and therefore may not be able to assess their ability to navigate in different cultural contexts. Knowing this, I may provide my students with a rubric and go over the criteria beforehand to facilitate their self assessment. The American Association of College and Universities Intercultural Knowledge and Competence Value Rubric is a particularly helpful starting point for teachers and students. Another popular method to measure student growth in ICC as the result of a virtual exchange is through pre- and post-exchange surveys. Again, students self-rate on various aspects of ICC, like openness to other worldviews, curiosity about other cultures, and understanding of cultural differences in verbal and nonverbal communication by selecting a response on a Likert scale. This is done before the virtual exchange and after the virtual exchange, so students and teachers can reflect on student growth in intercultural communication skills. In order to help students do the pre and post surveys more successfully, I spent some time teaching them about the various dimensions of ICC at the very beginning of the virtual exchange project. This way, they will develop an understanding of the purpose for our telecollaborative interaction and will know the specific knowledge and skills that we will focus on.